The town of Millbrook had always believed it was the kind of place where terrible things happened somewhere else. With barely 11,000 residents, everyone knew everyone else's business. The local diner opened before sunrise every morning. The hardware store still kept handwritten customer tabs, and the biggest excitement most weeks was Friday night's football game. People left their doors unlocked. Children rode bicycles until sunset. Neighbors trusted each other, or at least they thought they did. For 34-year-old Wayne Holloway, Millbrook wasn't just home. It was everything he had ever known. Every weekday morning followed nearly the same routine. He woke before 6, started the coffee, packed his lunch, then woke his 7-year-old daughter, Ellie, who never wanted to leave the warmth of her blankets. "Dad, 5 more minutes," she'd mumble every morning. "You said that yesterday." And it worked. Wayne laughed every single time. Not because the joke was funny anymore, but because hearing her say it reminded him that life was simple. His wife, Denise, worked early shifts as a nursing assistant at the county hospital. Most mornings, she was already gone before Wayne and Ellie came downstairs. She always left a note. "Love you both." Sometimes there would be little drawings beside the words, a smiling sun, a heart, a stick figure family holding hands. Wayne folded every note into his wallet. He had dozens of them. That Tuesday morning began exactly the same. He poured cereal into Ellie's bowl while humming along to an old country song playing softly on the kitchen radio. Outside, a light rain tapped gently against the windows. "Dad, what is it? Can we stop for pancakes before school Friday?" "Pancakes?" "It's Student of the Month breakfast." Wayne smiled. "You got Student of the Month?" Ellie grinned proudly. "My teacher says I help everybody." "I already knew that," she beamed. He reached over the table and ruffled her hair. "I'm proud of you." Those would become the last peaceful words they shared for many years. At exactly 6:47 a.m., flashing blue lights reflected through the kitchen window. Wayne frowned. 3 sheriff's cruisers rolled slowly into the driveway. No sirens, only silent flashing lights. The sound of car doors opening echoed outside. Ellie looked toward the window. "Dad." Wayne stood. Probably someone's looking for directions. But even as he said it, something inside him tightened. 3 officers approached the front porch. Behind them came 2 detectives wearing dark jackets with the word homicide stitched across their backs. The knock wasn't loud. It was firm, authoritative. Wayne opened the door halfway. "Morning, Wayne Holloway." "Yeah." The older detective removed a folded paper from his jacket. "I'm Detective Carl Benson. This is Detective Sarah Miles. We have a warrant for your arrest." Wayne blinked. "My arrest?" "For the murder of Curtis Bragg." For a moment, he simply stared. Then he laughed, not because anything was funny, because his brain refused to understand the sentence. "What? You are under arrest." "No." He actually smiled. "You've got the wrong guy." The detectives didn't smile back. Detective Benson stepped forward. "Turn around. This has to be some mistake." "Sir, I didn't kill anybody." Ellie had walked into the hallway by then. She looked from her father to the strangers. "Daddy?" Wayne turned. "It's okay." But it wasn't. The detectives gently pulled his arms behind his back. Cold steel handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists. Ellie's eyes widened. "Daddy?" She started crying. Wayne's heart shattered. "Ellie, listen to me." He knelt awkwardly, despite the cuffs. "I didn't do anything wrong. You'll be back?" He looked toward Detective Benson. "When can I come home?" No one answered. Denise wasn't there. She wouldn't even know what had happened until hours later. Wayne kissed Ellie's forehead. "I love you. I love you too." The detectives escorted him outside. Neighbors were already gathering on their porches. Curtains moved, doors opened. People whispered. Some stared openly. Others pretended not to. Wayne recognized almost every face. People he'd known for decades. Not one of them spoke. The county jail smelled like bleach and old concrete. Wayne sat alone inside a gray interrogation room. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. Minutes stretched into hours. Finally, the door opened. Detective Benson entered, carrying a thick folder. He placed several photographs on the table. A body, blood, crime scene tape. Wayne immediately looked away. "That's Curtis Bragg. I know who Curtis is." "When was the last time you saw him?" "I don't remember." "You argued with him Friday night." "No. A witness says otherwise." I wasn't even at the tavern. You expect us to believe that? It's true. Detective Miles entered, carrying another file. She laid a photograph beside the others. Wayne frowned. It showed his old blue pickup truck, captured by a gas station security camera. Timestamp, 10:42 p.m., Friday. We have your truck 2 blocks from the murder scene. I drove through town. Why? I bought gasoline. Then, I went home. No stops, no. Detective Benson slid another photograph across the table. Wayne's stomach dropped. A hunting knife. Old, rusted. Inside, an evidence bag. We found this in your garage. That's not mine. It has Curtis Bragg's blood on it. Wayne stared. No. It was hidden behind paint cans. I've never seen that knife. Your fingerprints? I don't know. We're still processing it. I've never owned that knife. The detectives exchanged a quick glance. Then Benson leaned forward. This is your opportunity to tell us what happened. I didn't kill Curtis. You had a fight. No. You were seen threatening him. I wasn't. You drove near the crime scene. Yes. The murder weapon was found in your garage. It wasn't mine. Then explain how it got there. Wayne opened his mouth. Nothing came out because he couldn't explain it. He had absolutely no explanation. Several hours later, he made his one phone call. Denise answered after the second ring. Hello? Denise? There was silence. Wayne? They arrested me. What? They think I killed Curtis Bragg. Another silence, longer this time. What are you talking about? I don't know. She laughed nervously. Okay, stop joking. I'm not joking. The laughter disappeared instantly. Oh my God. They found a knife. What knife? I don't know. They say someone saw us arguing, but I never argued with Curtis. Denise's breathing became shaky. I'll come. They won't let you. I'll find a lawyer. I love you. Wayne, I didn't do this. I know. She believed him, at least then. The next morning, every newspaper carried the same headline. Local man charged in bar murder. By noon, everyone in Millbrook had already formed an opinion. Some believed he was guilty, others weren't sure. Almost nobody believed he was innocent, because the evidence sounded convincing. Witness, truck, knife. It fit together too perfectly, too neatly, almost as though someone had planned it that way. Miles away, in a rundown trailer outside town, Tyler Presser folded the newspaper carefully before tossing it into the trash. His uncle, Dale Presser, looked over from the kitchen table. They buy it? Tyler nodded. They arrested him yesterday. Dale smiled without emotion. Good. What if they keep digging? They won't. You sure? The police stop looking once they think they've found the right man. Tyler looked nervous. They won't ever find out? Dale lit another cigarette. Not if you keep your mouth shut. Tyler stared silently through the trailer window. For the first time since Curtis Bragg had died, he wondered whether framing an innocent man had been worth saving himself. But fear has a way of silencing guilt, and Dale Presser was a man everyone feared. Perfect. Here's part 2, continuing directly from part 1. The first night in the county jail felt endless. Wayne barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Ellie's frightened face as the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. He kept replaying the morning in his mind. There had to be a mistake. Surely someone would realize it. Surely another suspect would emerge. Surely the detectives would discover the knife wasn't his. By morning, none of those things had happened. Instead, a correctional officer unlocked his cell. Holloway. Wayne stood. You've got a visitor. His heart leaped. Denise. She looked exhausted. Her hair was tied back carelessly, and her eyes were swollen from crying. The moment she sat down across the glass partition, neither of them spoke. Finally, Wayne picked up the phone. I'm sorry. She shook her head. Don't apologize. I shouldn't be here. I know. She wiped away another tear. I hired a lawyer. Wayne frowned. A lawyer? We used our savings. You shouldn't have. What else was I supposed to do? He looked down. I'm going to come home. She wanted to believe him. She truly did. But doubt had already begun creeping into her heart. Not because she believed he was guilty, but because everything seemed to point toward him. I talked to the detectives. Wayne looked up. What did they say? They're convinced. They're wrong. I know. She hesitated. Wayne, what? They found the knife. It isn't mine. I know. You believe me? She nodded immediately. I do. He smiled for the first time since his arrest. That smile lasted only seconds. The prosecutor says they also have a witness. Wayne's expression hardened. Ronnie Speck, you know him? The bartender. What happened between you two? Nothing. They say you fought with Curtis. I never even saw Curtis that night. Denise searched his face carefully. For 13 years of marriage, Wayne had never lied to her. Not about money, not about work, not about anything. She still saw the same honest man sitting before her. I'll keep fighting, she whispered. Wayne nodded. So will I. 2 weeks later, Wayne met his court-appointed attorney. His name was Thomas Alderman. He looked to be in his late 50s, with thinning gray hair and permanent dark circles beneath his eyes. His suit looked as tired as he did. He spread several folders across the table. I've reviewed the evidence. Wayne waited. It isn't good. I didn't do it. I understand. No, I mean it. I know. But the evidence. Wayne leaned forward. Then prove it's wrong. Alderman sighed. I'm going to be honest. I need honesty. Though upon season, the prosecution has a witness. I know. A vehicle matching yours. I know. And the murder weapon in your garage. It isn't mine. I believe that's what you think. Wayne stared. What do you mean what I think? I'm saying juries don't like unexplained evidence. I can't explain something I didn't do. I know. The lawyer rubbed his forehead. I handle over 100 felony cases every year. What does that have to do with me? I've seen innocent people convicted. Wayne felt cold. What? It happens. I thought courts were supposed to find the truth. They're supposed to. And they often settle for the story that makes the most sense. Wayne sat silently. The words echoed inside his head. The story that makes the most sense. The prosecution formally announced they would seek a conviction for first-degree murder. If convicted, Wayne faced life in prison, without parole. The courtroom was packed during the preliminary hearing. Local reporters filled the back rows. Neighbors whispered among themselves. People Wayne had known since childhood avoided looking at him. Detective Benson testified first. He carefully described the investigation. The discovery of Curtis Bragg's body, the security footage, the witness statement, the knife. Each piece fit neatly into place. Too neatly. Ronnie Speck took the witness stand next. He looked nervous. The prosecutor smiled reassuringly. Mr. Speck, yes. Did you recognize the man arguing with Curtis Bragg? I did. Who was it? Wayne Holloway. Wayne clenched his fists beneath the defense table. The prosecutor continued. What did you observe? They were yelling. Could you hear what was said? Not every word, but. Curtis told Wayne to leave him alone, and Wayne, he shoved Curtis. The courtroom became silent. Wayne whispered, he's lying. Alderman placed a calming hand on his arm. Stay quiet, Ronnie continued. I saw Wayne point at Curtis. What did he say? You'll regret this. Gasps spread through the courtroom. Wayne stood abruptly. That's a lie. The judge slammed the gavel. Mr. Holloway. He never saw me. Sit down immediately. Wayne slowly lowered himself back into his chair. The damage had already been done. Several jurors stared at him with expressions that were impossible to read. Not outside the courthouse. Television cameras surrounded Denise. Mrs. Holloway, do you believe your husband is innocent? She hesitated. 1 second, 2 seconds, then answered, yes. Another reporter stepped forward. Even with all the evidence? She looked directly into the camera. My husband isn't a murderer. That statement appeared on every evening news broadcast. Some viewers admired her loyalty. Others called her delusional. Social media filled with cruel comments. Some people even posted Ellie's school picture online. Children repeated what they heard from their parents. Murderer's daughter. The words followed Ellie through school hallways. She stopped eating lunch in the cafeteria. She stopped raising her hand in class. She stopped smiling. One afternoon, she came home crying. Denise rushed toward her. What happened? They said Daddy killed someone. Denise knelt. No. Knew the point. They said everybody knows. She hugged her tightly. They're wrong. When's Daddy coming home? Denise closed her eyes. I don't know. It was the first time she had ever admitted that aloud. Weeks passed, then months. The trial finally began. The prosecutor built her case carefully. Every witness strengthened the narrative. Every piece of evidence pointed toward Wayne, even though none of it actually proved he had killed Curtis Bragg. Detective Benson described finding the knife. The forensic expert confirmed it carried Curtis's blood. The surveillance technician identified Wayne's truck. Ronnie repeated his story with even greater confidence than before. By the end of the prosecution's case, the jury seemed convinced. Wayne could feel it. Every time he looked toward the jury box, fewer people met his eyes. They had already begun imagining him as a killer, exactly as Thomas Alderman had feared. The story made sense, and sometimes that was enough. The defense began 3 days after the prosecution rested its case. By then, the damage had already been done. Every newspaper in Millbrook carried headlines that seemed to assume Wayne's guilt. Strong evidence presented against Holloway. Witness describes heated argument before murder. Even people who hadn't followed the trial believed they already knew the ending. Wayne felt it every time he entered the courtroom. The whispers, the stares, the silence that followed him like a shadow. Thomas Alderman knew they were losing. Still, he wasn't ready to give up. On the 4th day of the trial, he made a decision many defense attorneys avoid. He called Wayne to the witness stand. "Are you certain?" the judge asked quietly. Alderman nodded. "My client wishes to testify." Wayne stood and walked slowly toward the witness chair. His hands trembled as he took the oath. The courtroom was completely silent. Alderman approached him gently. "Mr. Holloway, did you kill Curtis Bragg?" "No." "Did you threaten him?" "No." "Did you own the knife presented in court?" "I had never seen it before the police showed me the photograph." "Then how did it end up in your garage?" Wayne swallowed hard. "I don't know." The words hung heavily in the courtroom. "I wish I could explain it, but I can't. I've searched my mind every day since my arrest. I've gone over every minute. I don't know who put it there. I don't know why. I only know it wasn't mine." Several jurors listened carefully. Some appeared sympathetic. Others remained expressionless. Alderman nodded. "Tell the jury about your family." Wayne smiled faintly. "My wife Denise, my daughter Ellie, they're my whole world." "What kind of father are you?" "I try to be the best one I can." "What would happen if you were sent to prison?" Wayne looked toward the gallery. Denise was crying. Ellie sat beside her, holding a stuffed rabbit. "Only 7 years old. I'd lose everything." Alderman paused. "Did you murder Curtis Bragg?" Wayne looked directly at the jury. "No. I swear before God, I did not kill that man." The prosecutor stood for cross-examination. She walked slowly toward Wayne. "Mr. Holloway, yes, you say you've never seen the knife." "Correct. But it was in your garage. Someone put it there. Who? I don't know. When? I don't know. Why? I don't know." She smiled slightly. "So your explanation is, someone framed me, without leaving a single witness?" "I guess. Without anyone seeing them? I don't know. Without any evidence whatsoever." Wayne remained silent. She turned toward the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant's entire case depends on an invisible person planting a murder weapon in his garage." She looked back at Wayne. "Can you provide even one piece of evidence that happened?" Wayne lowered his eyes. "No." She nodded. "No further questions." Closing arguments arrived the following afternoon. The prosecutor spoke first. She paced confidently before the jury. "This case is not complicated. We have motive. We have opportunity. We have a witness. We have the defendant's truck. And most importantly, we have the murder weapon hidden in his own garage." She stopped beside the evidence table. "The defendant asks you to believe in an impossible conspiracy. Instead, believe the evidence." She sat down. Thomas Alderman stood slowly. His voice lacked the prosecutor's confidence, but it carried something else: sincerity. "Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecution has presented a convincing story, but stories are not proof." He pointed toward Wayne. "My client cannot explain how that knife reached his garage. Neither can the prosecution. They only assume. They assume because it fits. But assumptions send innocent people to prison." He looked directly at each juror. "If there is even one reasonable doubt, you must find Wayne Holloway not guilty." He sat down. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Every minute felt like an hour. Wayne waited in a holding cell beneath the courthouse. He prayed, not for himself, for Denise, for Ellie, for one more chance. Late that afternoon, a deputy unlocked the door. "The jury has reached a verdict." Wayne's legs suddenly felt weak. The courtroom filled once again. No one spoke. The foreman stood. The clerk handed him the verdict form. The judge looked toward Wayne. "Mr. Holloway, the jury has reached a unanimous decision." Wayne squeezed Denise's hand. She whispered, "I love you." He whispered back, "I love you too." The judge nodded. "Please read the verdict." The foreman's voice barely shook. On the charge of murder in the first degree, we find the defendant, a pause, guilty. Everything stopped. Wayne couldn't breathe. Denise let out a heartbreaking scream. No! Ellie burst into tears. Daddy! Wayne simply stared ahead. He hadn't heard the rest. The judge spoke. The bailiff moved closer. Reporters rushed toward the courtroom doors. The world continued moving. Only Wayne remained frozen. Grozen. Family members of Curtis Bragg filled the courtroom. Some demanded justice. Others demanded revenge. The judge adjusted his glasses. Mr. Holloway, this court has considered all evidence. The loss of life in this case is irreversible. He paused. I therefore sentence you to 28 years in state prison. The words echoed through the courtroom. 28 years. Wayne was 34. He would be over 60 if he survived long enough to leave prison. Ellie would be grown. His marriage, his life, everything was gone. The bailiff stepped forward. Wayne turned one last time. Denise reached toward him. I'll never stop fighting, she cried uncontrollably. Ellie screamed, Daddy! Wayne forced himself to smile. A father didn't want his daughter to remember fear. He wanted her to remember love. I love you. The words barely escaped his lips before deputies led him away. 2 days later, a prison transport bus rolled through the gates of Coldwater Correctional Institution. High concrete walls stretched toward the gray sky. Guard towers overlooked rows of razor wire. Steel gates slammed shut behind the bus. The sound echoed through Wayne's chest. An older inmate sitting across from him laughed quietly. First time? Wayne nodded. The man smiled sadly. You never forget that sound. What sound? The gate. It closes behind you, and you realize the world isn't coming back. Wayne looked out the small window one last time. The sky disappeared behind concrete. His new life had begun, and it was nothing like the one he had left behind. The steel gate slammed shut behind the prison bus with a deafening clang. Wayne instinctively looked back through the narrow window, watching the outside world disappear behind layers of concrete walls and razor wire. An officer stood at the entrance. Welcome to Coldwater Correctional. There was nothing welcoming about it. The inmates were lined up and marched inside without a word. Every step echoed through long concrete corridors that smelled of bleach, sweat, and old metal. Eyes forward, a correctional officer barked. Wayne obeyed. He was fingerprinted again, photographed again. His wedding ring was removed and sealed in a small envelope, along with his wallet, belt, watch, and shoelaces. The officer looked at the ring. Married? Wayne nodded. For now. The officer didn't respond. He simply dropped it into a plastic evidence bag. Watching that ring disappear felt worse than being handcuffed. It was the last piece of his old life. The intake process lasted nearly 5 hours. Wayne's hair was cut short. He was issued a faded blue prison uniform, work boots, 2 blankets, a thin mattress, and a roll of toilet paper. An inmate trustee handed him the bundle. Don't lose anything. Wayne looked around. The prison seemed like a city hidden behind walls. Hundreds of men moved silently between buildings. Some stared openly at the newcomers. Others ignored them completely. You'll get used to it, the trustee said. Wayne wasn't sure he wanted to. Cell Block C housed medium security inmates. Officer Reynolds unlocked a heavy steel door. Holloway. Wayne stepped inside. His new home measured barely 8 feet by 10, a metal bunk bed, a stainless steel toilet, a tiny sink, one narrow window covered with bars. A man sat on the lower bunk, reading an old paperback novel. He looked up. You the new guy? Wayne nodded. I'm Marcus. Wayne. Marcus extended his hand. Wayne shook it cautiously. Marcus smiled. Relax. If I wanted trouble, I wouldn't introduce myself. Wayne managed a weak smile. You'll take the top bunk. Thanks. Marcus continued reading. After several minutes, he spoke again without looking up. What are you in for? Wayne hesitated. I didn't do it. Marcus chuckled. You'll hear that from half this prison. I mean it. Marcus closed his book. So do some of them. Dinner was served at 5 o'clock. The food looked barely edible. A scoop of mashed potatoes, overcooked vegetables, mystery meat covered in brown gravy. Wayne forced himself to eat. At another table, 2 inmates kept looking toward him. Marcus noticed. Don't stare. I'm not. They're staring at you. Wayne glanced briefly. One of the men smiled. It wasn't friendly. Marcus leaned closer. They know your case. How? It was on television. Wayne's stomach tightened. The guy with the bar murder? Wayne nodded. Word travels fast in prison. That night, sleep refused to come. Somebody shouted in another cell. Metal doors slammed. An inmate cried somewhere down the corridor. Another laughed hysterically. Wayne lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He pictured Ellie sleeping in her bedroom. He wondered if she still left the hallway light on, because she was afraid of the dark. He wondered if Denise had remembered garbage day. He wondered who would mow the lawn. His thoughts drifted to ordinary things because ordinary life already felt impossibly far away. The following morning began at exactly 5 a.m. The lights snapped on without warning. Count time! Officers walked from cell to cell. Every inmate had to stand beside his bunk until the official count was complete. After breakfast, Wayne received his work assignment. Prison laundry, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, 18 cents an hour. He spent the day folding prison uniforms, thousands of them. The work was repetitive, mindless. But Marcus explained that was the point. They keep your body busy, so your mind doesn't have time to think. Wayne answered quietly. It still thinks. Marcus nodded. Yeah, it always does. A week later, Wayne received his first letter. His hands trembled as he recognized Denise's handwriting. Inside was a drawing. A stick figure family holding hands beneath a bright yellow sun. Across the top, in uneven crayon letters, Ellie had written, I love you, Daddy. Wayne stared at the page for several minutes before reading Denise's letter. She wrote about ordinary things: school, work, the neighbor's dog escaping again, the broken washing machine. She never mentioned the trial, never mentioned prison. Instead, she ended with 4 simple words. We're still believing. Wayne folded the letter carefully and placed it beneath his mattress. It became his greatest possession. Months passed. Prison had a way of erasing time. One day looked exactly like the next. Laundry, meals, count, lockdown, sleep, repeat. Wayne marked each passing month by Ellie's letters. She always included a drawing. One month it was a butterfly. Another month, a Christmas tree. Then a picture of their blue house. Each drawing became more detailed. Her handwriting slowly improved. Wayne could almost watch his daughter growing up through the pages, but he wasn't there to see it. That realization hurt more than prison itself. Not everyone inside Coldwater believed Wayne's innocence. One afternoon in the recreation yard, a muscular inmate known as Briggs approached him. You, the child killer? Wayne frowned. What? Heard you stabbed a man. I didn't. Briggs laughed. They all say that. Wayne turned to leave. Briggs shoved him hard. You walking away? Wayne stumbled, but kept his balance. I don't want trouble. Briggs stepped closer. You got trouble. Before Wayne could react, Marcus appeared between them. Leave him alone. Briggs smirked. You babysitting now? Marcus didn't move. You heard me. For several tense seconds, no one spoke. Finally, Briggs shrugged. He ain't worth it. He walked away. Wayne exhaled slowly. Marcus looked at him. You're lucky. Why? He was testing you. For what? To see if you'd fight. And if I had, Marcus smiled sadly, you'd probably be in the infirmary. That evening, Wayne thanked him. You didn't have to help, Marcus shrugged. Somebody helped me my first week, so now you help somebody else. Wayne looked around the crowded housing unit. Why? Marcus leaned back against the wall. Because prison takes enough from a man. It doesn't need to take his humanity too. Wayne never forgot those words. Gå na slipsom. Vill om that sems you do hit you away. For years, everyone had told him to accept his fate. Now, for the first time, someone believed there might actually be something wrong with his conviction. Marcus watched Wayne smiling for the first time in months. What's got you looking like that? Wayne handed him the letter. Marcus read it slowly. You know these innocence groups don't take many cases. I know. They must have seen something. Wayne folded the paper carefully. I hope so. Marcus smiled. Hope is dangerous in here. Wayne looked down. So is giving up. Within 2 weeks, Miriam visited Coldwater Correctional. She looked younger than Wayne had expected, perhaps in her early 30s. She carried 3 thick folders and a legal pad covered with handwritten notes. After introducing herself, she spoke honestly. I need to tell you something before we begin. Wayne nodded. I don't know if you're innocent. I understand. My job isn't to believe people, it's to find facts. Wayne appreciated her honesty. She wasn't making promises, she was looking for the truth. I'll answer anything. She opened the first folder. Let's start from the beginning. For nearly 4 hours, Wayne recounted everything. The arrest, the interrogation, the trial, the knife, the witness, every detail, every memory. Miriam interrupted only to ask questions. When was the last time anyone besides your family entered your garage before your arrest. Wayne thought carefully. There was one man. She looked up. Who? I don't remember his name. What was he doing? He cleaned out an old storage shed. When? Maybe 3 weeks before Curtis died. Did you hire him? No. He was recommended by someone. Who? Wayne closed his eyes. I can't remember. Miriam circled something in her notebook. That answer bothered her. Point. Back at her office, she requested every document connected to the investigation. Thousands of pages arrived. Police reports, crime scene photographs, forensic analyses, interview transcripts. She spent weeks reading every page. One detail immediately stood out. The knife contained Curtis Bragg's blood, but no fingerprints, not Wayne's, not anyone else's. She frowned. Why hadn't that mattered? She kept reading. The witness statement from Ronnie Speck changed slightly between his first police interview and his courtroom testimony. His description became more detailed each time, almost too detailed. People usually remembered less over time, not more. Meanwhile, Wayne's life inside prison continued. The years blurred together. His hair turned gray around the temples. His back ached after long days in the laundry. Ellie's letters changed. Gone were the crayon drawings. Now she wrote about high school, basketball games, college applications, her first job. Each letter reminded Wayne of another milestone he had missed. One afternoon, Denise visited alone. Wayne immediately knew something was wrong. She couldn't meet his eyes. After several minutes of silence, she finally spoke. I met someone. Wayne's heart sank. She continued crying. I tried not to. I waited. I really did. I'm tired. Wayne remained silent. I can't keep living halfway between two lives. She reached across the table. I'm so sorry. Wayne squeezed her hand gently. You don't have to apologize. I do. No, you've carried enough. She broke down completely. I still love you. Wayne smiled sadly. I know. I'll always love you too. But you deserve a life. The divorce papers arrived 3 months later. Wayne signed them without hesitation. That night, Marcus found him sitting alone. You okay? Wayne stared at the wall. I just lost my wife. Marcus nodded quietly. No. Wayne corrected himself. I lost her years ago. Today just made it official. Several hundred miles away, Miriam finally found something unexpected. A maintenance invoice. 3 weeks before the murder. Address: Wayne Holloway. Description: garage clean-out assistance. Worker: Tyler Presser. Miriam immediately searched the name. Her computer displayed several criminal records: drug possession, burglary, assault. Most importantly, Tyler Presser was the nephew of Dale Presser, the same Dale Presser whom investigators had briefly questioned regarding Curtis Bragg's drug activity. But according to the case file, police never followed that lead. Instead, they arrested Wayne. Miriam leaned back in her chair. For the first time, she believed Wayne might truly be innocent. The next morning, Miriam drove 3 hours to interview Detective Carl Benson, now retired. At first, he refused. I've already testified. I know. The case is closed. Not if the wrong man is in prison. The detective sighed. After a long silence, he invited her inside. His house was quiet. Boxes of old files filled one corner of the living room. Miriam opened her notebook. I have one question. Go ahead. Why wasn't Tyler Presser investigated? The detective looked surprised. You found that. He worked inside Wayne Holloway's garage. I remember. Why didn't you pursue it? Benson rubbed his forehead. We wanted to. What stopped you? The district attorney believed we already had enough evidence. What about Curtis Bragg's drug connections? We looked briefly. And? The prosecutor didn't think they mattered. Miriam leaned forward. Did you believe Wayne was guilty? The detective hesitated for nearly a minute. Finally, he answered. I believed the evidence. Do you still? He looked toward the window. I'm not sure anymore. Miriam wasn't satisfied. She requested new DNA testing on the knife. Technology had improved dramatically since Wayne's trial. Months passed. Then the laboratory called. The knife handle contained trace DNA. Tiny amounts. Not enough back then. Enough now. The report excluded Wayne Holloway completely. Instead, it produced a partial match. Tyler Presser. Miriam stared at the report. Her hands trembled. This changed everything. Meanwhile, Tyler Presser had spent years pretending the past never happened. He drank heavily, slept poorly, avoided mirrors. Every time he saw Wayne's face on television during prison reform stories, his guilt grew. Then police arrived. Again, Tyler Presser? Yeah? We need to ask you about Curtis Bragg. Tyler froze. His worst nightmare had finally arrived. Miriam Stintz. The interrogation lasted 6 hours. At first, he denied everything. I don't know anything. The detectives placed the DNA report on the table. Silence. Then photographs. The knife. Wayne. Curtis. Finally, a picture of Dale Presser. Tyler looked away. One detective spoke quietly. Your uncle can't protect you anymore. Tyler remained silent. Another detective leaned forward. An innocent man has spent 12 years in prison. Still, nothing. Then they made one final offer. Tell us the truth. It's your only chance. Tyler began crying. I never wanted to kill him. The detectives exchanged quick glances. You did. Tyler nodded slowly. Uncle Dale said Curtis was stealing. He said somebody had to make an example. I was scared. So you stabbed Curtis? Tyler buried his face in his hands. I did. And Wayne? Tyler sobbed uncontrollably. He was just easy. I planted the knife. I knew where he'd keep old tools. I figured nobody would question it. The room became completely silent. After 12 years, someone had finally spoken the truth. Yes, same. Miriam immediately drove to Coldwater Correctional. Wayne entered the visitation room, expecting another routine meeting. Instead, she was smiling. The biggest smile he had ever seen. What happened? She slid several documents across the table. Wayne looked confused. The DNA. It isn't yours. He stared. We found the real killer. Wayne couldn't breathe. What? He confessed. The room disappeared around him. For 12 years, he had imagined hearing those words. Now, he couldn't even process them. Miriam reached across the table. We're going home, Wayne. Tears streamed down his face. Not because he was free. Not yet. But because after 12 long years, someone finally believed him. For 12 years, Wayne Holloway had dreamed about this moment. Now that it had finally arrived, it didn't feel real. 3 weeks after Tyler Presser confessed to murdering Curtis Bragg, the courthouse in Millbrook was filled beyond capacity. Reporters lined the sidewalks outside. Television vans crowded the parking lot. People who had once whispered that Wayne was a murderer now stood in silence, waiting to see justice corrected. Wayne entered the courtroom wearing prison-issued khaki clothes and handcuffs. The irony wasn't lost on him. 12 years earlier, he had entered this same building believing the truth would set him free. Instead, it had stolen his life. Today, he wasn't sure what to believe. Miriam Cho sat beside him, surrounded by stacks of evidence. The new DNA report. Tyler Presser's signed confession. Affidavits from retired detective Carl Benson. Financial records showing Ronnie Speck had received cash from one of Dale Presser's associates only days after Curtis Bragg's murder. Every lie that had built the prosecution's case was slowly collapsing. The judge entered the courtroom. Everyone stood. After reviewing the documents for nearly 20 minutes, the judge looked over his glasses toward Wayne. Mr. Holloway. Wayne slowly stood. This court has reviewed newly discovered evidence, including DNA analysis, sworn testimony, and the confession of Tyler Presser. The room became completely silent. It is the opinion of this court that Mr. Holloway did not receive a fair trial. Wayne held his breath. The evidence presented today establishes that another individual committed the murder of Curtis Bragg. The judge paused. Therefore, the conviction of Wayne Holloway is vacated. The courtroom gasped. All charges against Mr. Holloway are dismissed. You are free to leave this courtroom. Wayne didn't move. He simply stared. For 12 years, he had imagined hearing those words. Now that they had finally been spoken, his body refused to believe them. Miriam gently touched his arm. Wayne. It's over. His knees gave way. He collapsed into his chair, covering his face with both hands as uncontrollable sobs echoed throughout the courtroom. Years of pain, loneliness, fear, heartbreak finally poured out. Even some of the reporters wiped tears from their eyes. Outside the courthouse, dozens of cameras waited. But Wayne wasn't looking for cameras. He was looking for one person, Ellie. She stood near the courthouse steps, no longer the frightened 7-year-old girl who had watched father taken away in handcuffs. She was 19 now, a young woman. She looked at him cautiously. Neither of them knew what to say. 12 years had stolen ordinary conversations, birthday parties, school concerts, graduations, family dinners. Everything that should have brought them together had instead happened through prison visitation glass. Wayne slowly walked toward her. I've missed you. Ellie's lips trembled. "I've missed you too, Dad." Without another word, she threw her arms around him. Wayne hugged her as tightly as he could. For several long moments, the world disappeared. There were no cameras, no reporters, no prison. Only a father holding the daughter he had waited 12 years to embrace without guards watching. Later that evening, Wayne stood outside the gates of Coldwater Correctional one final time. An officer handed him a small cardboard box. Inside were the belongings taken from him 12 years earlier: his old wallet, his faded wristwatch, and his wedding ring. Wayne picked it up carefully. He stared at it for several seconds, then slipped it into his pocket. Some memories deserved to stay close. Others hurt too much to wear. As the prison gates closed behind him one last time, he realized something. For 12 years he had dreamed of leaving, but prison had changed him. Freedom wasn't something he simply stepped back into. It was something he would have to learn all over again. Freedom felt strangely unfamiliar. The first night, Ellie booked a small hotel room because Wayne refused to sleep in a house. Walls made him nervous. Closed doors reminded him of prison cells. Even silence sounded different. At 3 o'clock that morning, he woke suddenly after dreaming that correctional officers were shouting for morning count. He instinctively stood beside the bed, then remembered no one was coming. He was free. Yet his body hadn't learned that lesson. The weeks that followed were harder than anyone expected. Simple things overwhelmed him. Walking through a grocery store filled him with anxiety. There were hundreds of products he had never seen before. People paid with phones. Cars looked different. Children carried tablets instead of books. Technology had continued moving while his life had stood still. Even crossing a busy street made him nervous. He often caught himself asking permission before leaving a room. Prison habits refused to disappear overnight. Brubil Dasan Bentinna. The state eventually awarded Wayne compensation for his wrongful conviction. The money helped him buy a modest apartment and begin rebuilding his life. But no amount of money could replace 12 stolen years. It couldn't give Ellie back her childhood. It couldn't repair his marriage. Denise visited him one afternoon. She had remarried a kind man named Frank. She looked nervous. "I've wanted to see you." Wayne smiled warmly. "So have I." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry. You don't owe me an apology. I stopped visiting. You had to survive. I moved on. I wanted you to." She began crying. "I never stopped loving you." Wayne reached across the table. "I know. Sometimes loving someone means letting them live." They talked for hours, not as husband and wife, but as two people who had survived the same tragedy in different ways. When they finally said goodbye, neither carried anger anymore, only sadness. The hardest relationship to rebuild was with Ellie. She wanted her father back. Wayne wanted his daughter back, but neither knew where to begin. At first, their conversations were awkward. "What do you like to eat?" "Anything." "What movies do you watch?" "I don't know." They were strangers connected by blood. One evening, Ellie invited Wayne to dinner. Afterward, she placed an old cardboard box on the table. "I've been saving these." Inside were every letter Wayne had written from prison. Every birthday card, every Christmas drawing, every Father's Day message. "I read them all." Wayne picked up one of the faded letters. "You kept everything?" Ellie smiled. "I never wanted to forget you." For the first time since his release, Wayne truly believed they might heal. Months later, Miriam invited Wayne to speak at a small legal conference about wrongful convictions. He almost refused. "I'm not a speaker. You don't have to be. You only have to tell the truth." He agreed. Standing behind the podium, Wayne looked at the audience. Judges, law students, police officers, prosecutors. He took a deep breath. "My name is Wayne Holloway. I spent 12 years in prison for a murder I didn't commit." The room became silent. "I lost my marriage. I missed my daughter's childhood. I buried both of my parents while wearing prison chains." His voice broke. But the hardest part wasn't prison. It was knowing I was telling the truth and nobody believed me. Many people in the audience wiped away tears. He continued. "The justice system isn't broken because it makes mistakes. It's broken when it refuses to admit them." The audience stood and applauded, not because his story had a happy ending, but because thousands of innocent people were still waiting for theirs. Years passed. Wayne became an advocate for criminal justice reform. He traveled across the country speaking about eyewitness identification, forensic evidence, and the importance of reviewing old convictions. His story inspired changes to state law. Evidence preservation rules improved. Public defenders received additional funding. Cases involving questionable forensic evidence were reopened. Wayne often reminded lawmakers of one simple truth: the easiest story isn't always the true one. On the 12th anniversary of his release, Wayne and Ellie returned to the old house on Larch Street. The blue paint was gone. Another family lived there now. They didn't stop. Instead, they stood quietly across the street. Ellie slipped her hand into her father's. "If you could go back, would you change anything?" Wayne looked toward the house where life had once been so ordinary. He thought about the morning he had poured cereal, the flashing blue lights, the handcuffs, the years stolen from him. Finally, he answered, "I would change what happened, but I wouldn't change who it made me." Ellie smiled. "So many people are free today because you kept fighting." Wayne looked toward the sunset. Maybe she was right. His life would never be the one he had imagined. Some wounds never completely healed. Some memories never stopped hurting. But pain didn't have to be the end of the story.